Welcome back to the Snap Count, our Friday preview show on the Big Play Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. I'm your host, Trai Essex, and this is your quarterback and mine, Mr. Charlie Batch. Some birthdays are in order. CB, happy birthday, my man.
Man, right back at you. Happy birthday, young fella.
I know, right, man? The big 4-3 coming up. What are you, a crisp 40, 42? What's the number for you, CB? Go ahead and say it out
Hey,
loud.
I'm 51, man.
There you go.
I'm
Step
51 and
into
I
it.
had my AARP card, so don't be trying to slide me over the bill so you can get my discount on the AARP card. So that's
Oh,
all I'm
man,
gonna
I'm
say.
gonna ask you, man, when I need to rent this car next week, man.
I need all of my discounts. I need all of my discounts. That's what I'm saying.
You gonna get them. You gonna get them. Hey, usually when your birthday's on a Friday, it's time to go crazy, right? Back in the day, you used to get ready for the club. My Friday birthdays are a little bit different these days, CB. The highlight of my day is gonna be going to Hibachi and then taking the kids to watch Zootopia 2, right? Which is out in theaters just this week. So I'm popping a different kind of bottles. I'm popping those Sprite bottles. I'm gonna sneak into the movie theater because I ain't trying to pay $8 for a Sprite.
Hey, all I'm gonna say is yours is Sprite. Hey, I need a nice little glass of wine, man. That's all I need. Dinner, wine, and I'm still keeping my schedule because we actually have a toy drive on Saturday, so I can't go too hard today because we are up collecting toys for the kids and the families on
That-
Saturday. So it's gonna be
Look at
exciting.
you making me feel all guilty because I'm not out here in these streets helping the kids like Santa
Hey,
Chuck is. It's awesome
no,
work, bro. What
hey,
you doing, brother?
I appreciate it. I appreciate you being a part of it for all of these years, man. It's been over 20 years, man. So I'm grateful for you.
We'll let the people know at the end of the show where they can go to donate to the drive as well. But let's get into it. It is Baltimore week, CB. Nothing else really needs to be said, right? This week, we know when we were former Steelers, whenever the first game against Baltimore, especially if we were playing there, it just felt different in the locker room. The attention to detail was paid to a little bit more, you got to meetings a little bit earlier. You might have gotten an extra workout or two in. And it's because when you go against a team like Baltimore, not to shade Cincinnati or Cleveland, it just feels different when it's Baltimore because they are built so much like we are, right? Like their foundation, what they pride themselves on, being a tough organization, trenches, run the ball, stop the run. That's what they've been built on. Very similar to us. And so this week just feels different when you're going against Baltimore.
Yeah, it always is different because this game is what everybody circles. The schedule makers, they make this the game of the week, regardless of what it is. Typically, both games are games of the week. So here we are again. You don't have to walk in and get motivated. If you aren't motivated for this game, you should not be a member of the Steelers or the Ravens because of how intense this rivalry is. So this is going to be an important game. The Steelers know what that is at stake. And these young guys or the guys who are new to the team, they are
Mhm.
now introduced to this rivalry. And like Benny, you sat in those meetings just like I did, and the coach would always step up and say, "You're not a Steeler until you make a play in this particular rivalry." And when you do, that's when they say, "Welcome, you are now officially a Steeler." So they know how important this is, and I'm sure they've been receiving and looking at all of the highlights on how people's careers have changed with this game.
Right. And if anybody was with the Pittsburgh for any amount of time, 3, 4 plus years, it always felt like your first start or your first welcome to the moment as an AFC North or Pittsburgh Steelers was your first game against Baltimore. I know my first start in the league was against Baltimore. Marvell went down, and actually Ben was hurt too, so Tommy was starting. And my first game we lost against Baltimore at Baltimore back when they had that turf, and I gave up a sack against Mr. Suggs himself. So I remember those rivalries very well. Usually the division goes through one of the two cities, either Pittsburgh or Baltimore. Whoever wins that division or whoever wins that game usually wins the division, right? And usually sets you up for a decent seed in the playoffs. Not so much this year. The story has changed a little bit. AFC North isn't what it has been the years past. Pittsburgh and Baltimore aren't what they've had in the past. Pittsburgh is obviously struggling. Well documented this week. We've talked about it ad nauseum, but Baltimore also started this year out on a struggle bus as well. They seem to have turned things around, but they're coming off a big loss against Cincinnati on Thanksgiving Day, division game that I know they knew was very important. So they're coming in here with all kinds of motivation to put it to us on Sunday because they know how important this game is for the division.
And everybody knows that, and it's just amazing how people are introduced to this. And people, even though it's been 13 years ago since I started my final football game against the Ravens in Baltimore, and that was the embrace of the hug at the end of the game, and people remember that all of these years later. And people, to me, I'm like, if that game happened against any other team, it would just probably be another game.
Right.
But because what was at stake at that particular point, we needed to win that game to keep our slim playoff hopes alive. But Baltimore, if they won that game, they clinched the division. So we knew what was at stake. So to be able to go on the road and lead that charge, that for me, closed out my career. So that's a memory that I will never forget. But to your point on where this game and the rivalry is at, yeah, it's different from the sense of both teams are 6-6. Typically, this game, you're either 8-2, 9-3 a
Hmm.
piece. And now there's more at stake because you're essentially playing for that number one or number two seed. And then the loser obviously goes on the road. Very similar to what happened in 2011, where I think we split the rivalry game, but they had a better conference record. We were 12-4, and then we went on the road, faced an 8-8 Denver team, and we
Right.
ultimately lost on the
Hmm.
road in a playoff game. So this game matters because it's the difference between a home game and a playoff game.
Yeah, it could be the difference between a playoff position, period, because it doesn't look like the AFC North is going to have more than one representative with the way that everything else is shaking on the AFC. But before we get to the nuts and bolts of the actual football game, we had some headlines this week that happened in Steeler Nation. The Steelers have released or waived Darius Slay, the much maligned Darius Slay. Steeler Nation did not cut him any slack, and I think he will tell you, or maybe not, but the coaching staff has definitely shown you by releasing him that he just didn't live up to what they had hoped for at the DB position, and so they let him go. Um, and in return, signed Adam Thielen. I picked him up off of waivers after he mentioned that he wasn't getting the player time. He wanted in Minnesota, and he's retiring after this year and wanted to go to a place where he can at least get some more clock. And so that happened this week. We swapped out one bet for another. Darius Slay ended up not going to Buffalo because of for we don't know yet. He decided not to go. He decided he wanted to wait it out. So it sounds like he might be mulling retirement. Is this something you think maybe him and Pittsburgh talked about as well? He didn't announce it right away when he was released, but it is kind of odd that he didn't take the opportunity to go play for a team that's on the verge, that's seated very well or positioned very well to make a long run in the playoffs.
Yeah, it was tough, and obviously there was high expectations whenever they brought him into Pittsburgh, guaranteed his contract coming off a Super Bowl victory, and it was well deserved. I'm a big fan of whoever can get your money,
Mm,
get paid, get
get
your
your
money,
money.
and that's what it is. And he hit the market at the right time. Steelers were looking for a veteran presence, and obviously the way the season unfolded didn't go in the manner that he hoped. Obviously, we were glad that he's recovered from his concussion, but when he did, he fell out of graces with the coaching staff. And I say that because that's when we started to see a little bit more James Pierre. He was playing great football, and it was hard to take him off the field. And now he became a healthy scratch when he was available. Obviously, internal conversations happened. He probably expressed his frustrations, wanted a bigger role, and the organization said no. And then there was a mutual parting ways because typically this type of season, you don't give away a good player and have him go through waivers if you think somebody else is going to pick him up. But here
Mhm,
he is. Obviously, we've seen him decline the invitation to Buffalo. To me, I just think, and I have not talked to him, have not spoken to anybody within his party. To me, when I looked at this, if he probably got to Philadelphia from a waiver claim, I think he continues on his career because he's
mhm,
familiar with that place. Obviously, it didn't happen, and now he's mulling retirement, and we're hearing the stories that we now are hearing publicly. If it is his last play, congratulations to you on one heck of a career, going out a Super Bowl champion, and obviously whatever happens in the future. However, we can be a resource, myself included, along with yourself, Trey, from
mhm.
Steeler alumni. Please reach out to us and let us know how we can help. But either way, man, you have one heck of a career, man. We're wishing you the best moving forward.
Yep, Super Bowl champion, big play Slay. Best luck, and hopefully God will impart some wisdom on him, and he can make the decision that's best for him and his family moving forward. And so, other side of this, we brought in Adam Thielen. Now, Chuck, I feel like I need to get up and stretch a little bit, man, because I think I might be able to get signed for maybe a couple of games if I only had like 5 games left. Um, it's the jokes are out, man.
See,
Go
you
ahead.
you 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 look at it different. You can get yourself stretched up. You're ready to play. Me, you can suit me up. Just don't put me in the game, man. Those hits hurt. I don't want to absorb any of that smoke. So good for you,
No,
Trey. You can have that
I'm
one.
over here snoring, man. No, I don't want none of that smoke either, man. Just put me in motion, put me like Spencer Anderson on that one play. Just line me up wide and don't have me block nobody. I'll just out there for show, another big body so they can bring in a different personnel. But no, like this Adam Thielen, the jokes are out, right? Somebody wrote a tweet out there that was kind of funny. I was amused by it. That Coach Tomlin will say something in his presser about uh having soup and we're eating it with forks, but we need spoons, guys, or some kind of Tomlinism, which I thought was funny.
Right.
And then he say, and then we'll sign a 2018 Pro Bowler. Well, lo and behold, Tomlin comes out in his presser. Tomlinism, you can pick and choose whichever one you want. But then lo and behold, we go inside Adam Thielen. Now, Adam Thielen has had one heck of a career with Minnesota. Well, documented how he was undrafted. I think he went to school up at Minnesota State or one of those small Division II schools up there in Minnesota. I've actually called some games in that area, Duluth and some of the other good schools. Anyway, great college career. Got signed by Minnesota. Had a great career in Minnesota. Spent some time in Carolina for a couple years. Came back to Minnesota, and now wants to end his career playing for a team and getting some clock, as I mentioned before. Now we have a history of signing veteran. I'm gonna say veteran. I'm not gonna say old or geriatric or whatever else Twitter world and the rest of social media want to say about. But we've signed some well-seasoned wide receivers in the past. Let me name off a few: Robert Woods, Van Jefferson, Mike Williams, Dante Moncrief, Allen Robinson, Ladarius Green. What's something in common that they all have? When they got here, we didn't really use them that much. They didn't really add to their career when they came to Pittsburgh. Is there any reason to think that Adam Thielen in these last 5 games can do something impactful to the point that makes this a worthwhile signing for the offense?
Yeah, I know he's up there in age. He's 35. This is his 12th NFL season. As you look at this, and obviously the mutual ways, the parting of ways that happened in Minnesota, I think I look at this as one, yes, he can come in and help, but two, he brings that veteran presence into that receiver group that's not there. I know DK, he is the leader of that group, but the rest of those guys are young. And if he can
Mhm.
come in and steal that wisdom to those guys, give a different perspective from a player and actually now motivating these young guys, I think it could help. Now, how much will it impact, his play on the field? Because I don't know. A lot of that is going to have to deal with or do with the fact that he has to learn the system. And if he can learn the system, then maybe a package that he has in this particular game. And then the more he's here and learning, the more he'll see the field. I just don't expect a lot this week, only because I don't know how much of the offense that he knows right now. But I do think this is going to be something that can benefit these young guys with him being in the room.
Yeah, he only got 5 games, so he needs to get up to speed rather quickly. And he is a bigger body possession receiver that runs excellent routes. This is how he's made his hay in the NFL and lasted as long as he has. So I'm sure it won't take long for him to get on the same page as Aaron Rodgers. Speaking of Aaron Rodgers, I know he didn't practice on Wednesday, right? But he did practice yesterday.
What you say that? You say that one more time?
A Rod did practice yesterday.
Yeah, A Rod practiced yesterday. Yes.
Okay. Any word on if he's going to take snaps under center this week or not?
That part I don't know. Obviously, during the week you try to minimize that because of the impact of the snap on the hand. So it's not like he doesn't know how to do that. Now, as what does that look like on Sunday? That can change. He could possibly be underneath center and those type of things. But to me, looking at it, it may possibly be the same type of game plan that they used last week in the shotgun. Now, hopefully, he's able to get underneath underneath center, and that changes a lot of things, specifically that play action game that allows him to now use something he's very good at in that play action game and pushing the ball down the field. But he looks like he's ready to go. Whatever the issues are, he's going to deal with it. But man, his arm is still alive.
And well, that's good to hear. We got some other, I guess, nicks and bruises when you look at the injury report. Kyle Duggar missed practice yesterday, who's been a welcome addition to the safety position. Somebody that I think we need and that has stepped in kind of flawlessly, actually. Ramsey missed practice yesterday, but that was more of a veteran rest type day. Patrick Queen was limited, JPJ was limited, and Calvin Anderson, which kind of maybe shines some light on why he didn't get to start last week. I know we talked about it. Calvin Anderson is also limited in practice with the leg injury. Um, and his situation is interesting because he came in when Roger got hurt versus the Chicago game. And I thought he would be the first one to get the crack at the starting once Broderick was out for the season. But Andres Pete took that position, and this might be why. We don't know exactly. Pete did a good job, but can't make the club in the tub, Calvin. Got to get healthy. You missed all the preseason. This would have been a big opportunity for you. But that looks like the gist of the injuries. Anything else that you've heard other than that?
Yeah, nothing else that I heard at this particular point. And obviously, this is being presented before the injury report comes out officially on what people's game statuses are. So we'll get a better idea of what Calvin Anderson looks like as he's moving forward in this game. Could potentially be a backup. But again, those are things that you have always been around, especially with Coach Tomlin. If you don't practice on Friday, you're a new guy essentially to this organization. There's a chance that you probably won't play in
Right.
the game because he has to watch you practice, and you don't have the resume of so-called, a Cam Hayward or a TJ Watt that he'll leave the light on for you as you get closer to the game. So I don't anticipate that. It looks like Pete probably will get the start, and who knows who is behind him. Hopefully we don't have to worry about who is behind him in that backup role because he actually played pretty good last week.
Okay. Well, let's get to talking about the game. And when we get into this game, there's not much that really needs to be said, Charlie, that we haven't said already, that we haven't been saying all year long. Um, Division game, Baltimore week, 6-6, division on the line, playoff position on the line, playoff lives on the line. This is very similar to what we faced in 2005 when we could not afford to lose. We were 7-5 with only 16 games left and 4 games left to play, but we could not afford to lose one more game the entire year, and we ran off 4 in a row. And rest is history. This team has 5 games left and cannot afford any kind of mishaps from here on out. And the crazy thing is, I don't know, I hope they had a good week of practice. I know Aaron said last week that the preparation could have been a lot better. Film studies could have been a lot better. I know he talked to the media yesterday and said everybody showed up and watched film. Um, Jack Sawyer said when he walked into the locker room that it felt different this week. Um, what kind of vibe are you getting? Do they adhere to Baltimore week like we're talking about it, like we are used to preparing for it? Do you think they are getting the message in that locker room, and do you think they're going to be ready to play this weekend?
Yeah, I think they're getting that message. And right now, when you have a rivalry like this, Wednesday is the tone setter. So, Tomlin walked into that uh, team meeting and he showed video of what this rivalry looks like over the decade that he's been here and part of this rivalry. Now, the players aren't the same. So now you got to introduce those guys to it. But the beauty of it is that these guys grew up watching this rivalry. So they
Mhm.
know how important this is over the years. So they should be able to get up for this game. I think they'll be ready for it. But now it's just a matter of what are they going to do, especially offensively. How are they going to attack that Ravens defense to try to give this defense of the Steelers a break? Because this is something that obviously we've been talking about for weeks. And now that we're at this particular game, knowing how important this one is, this is going to be a game that they have to get. And to me, it's a must-win game only because if they lose it, I can't see them getting into the playoffs of being a game and a half behind, and it limits their chances of getting into the playoffs. So this game is as big of a game that they have had this season. I know we talk about it's the next game, but no, this is
No,
essentially for the division.
this is it. Everybody says the next game is the most important game, but no, no. This game is important. It is essentially ride or die. There's other ways to make the playoffs after this if they don't lose, but this is for sure the only way that we can control our own destiny, right?
Correct.
Perfect lead in to our keys to victory then. And Chuck, I'm gonna let you go first because all I have is one this week, and it's probably going to encompass everything that you say anyway. So let's lead with Chuck. Let's lead with
All right,
yours first. What are the
absolutely.
keys to victory this week?
My first one, they have to stop Lamar Jackson. On film, it looks like he is battling something, whether that's some hamstring injury. He doesn't look himself because some of the plays that he's been able to get out of, he's not doing that consistently now. We're going to figure that out. They have to get after Lamar Jackson and prove that he can run the football and not just be a pocket passer. So that's going to be important early in the ball game to see what his mobility level looks like. But either way, so Lamar Jackson is the key of that Baltimore offense. Number two, they got to get the Steelers have to get the running game going. They have to control that time of possession. You know, you're going on the road. Communication is going to be key, and those offensive linemen are going to be playing at a split second slower pace than what they would do if you're playing at home because that Baltimore crowd will be into it early and often, and able to make it as difficult for that Steelers offensive line to get communication. But they now have to get it going. And if they want to get to the second level, those receivers have to do a better job of blocking to now turn those 3-yard runs into 8 into 12-yard gains, something that they haven't done consistently over time. Here's the game to prove it. And number three, win a turnover battle. The formula for this team's success, when they create the turnovers, they score points, they win ball games. But yet, when they turn it over and ultimately lose those possessions, they typically lose the game. So they have to win the turnover battle and force that team, regardless of what it was, they have to create a play on the defense, whether that is return fumble, something to give the offense better field position, and special teams has to come up with a play in this game in order for them to have walk out of that stadium with the victory. So those are my three keys right now.
Amen, brother. I agree with all three. And I think we can accomplish all three of those if we do what my one key says we should do. And that is we have to play with some damn heart. Dude, last week was a straight up indictment of where this Steeler franchise is in the eyes of Steeler Nation. When that crowd was out there saying boo Mike Tomlin, when they sit there and boo the Renegade song, which has been our theme song and our coming out song as far as getting something exciting to happen and it's getting something that the crowd could rally around. Renegade was that for us. Kind of got everybody going in one direction and gave defense that extra boost. And now it's not nearly that for us anymore. What the fans are booing, calling for Mike Tomlin's job, and you let a Buffalo team come into your building and run roughshed all over you to the tune of 249 rushing yards, the most in stadium history, not Acrisure history, and Heinz Field history too, all the way back to Three River Stadium, whenever that was built, 1990 something. So they got to play with some damn heart. They got to come out and know that this game means everything. This season is essentially on the line this weekend. All right. And so playing with heart means we got to stop the damn run. You got to stop Derrick Henry, right? You got to stop Lamar Jackson from getting those explosive plays, those back breaking plays. Hasn't made a lot of them this year. Don't make the Steelers the first team he really comes out and does that against. All right. Keep him guessing like you have in the past. Lamar has notoriously had bad games against Pittsburgh. So keep that going and definitely run the ball. So when I say play with some damn heart, it's going to start in the trenches. It's going to start with the O line and the D line, and then it'll trickle down from there. I need to see some big hits from the defensive line, some hits in the backfield, and I need some offensive linemen pushing some Baltimore Ravens where they don't want to go. Give Jalen and Kenneth Gainwell some holes to run through, and then we can definitely get this play action pass open and get some deep passes to DK. But all that starts with the mindset and the mentality that we're going to go out there and play with some heart and wear that Pittsburgh Steelers name on our chest with some damn pride,
Not much more to add off of that.
man. So I got a little heated right there, a little excited, but yeah, this whole week, like you could talk about the X's and O's, Charlie, but we've done that so much, man. We know what this team has lacked, right? They don't have an identity offensively. Defensively, we have a good game, and then we have two bad ones. And so they need to come out this Baltimore game and just play some damn football. Don't be robots on defense and on offense. Just let it go. Let your hair down, Arthur Smith. Let's play some damn ball, right? So yeah, like it's hard to really get an X and O's when you put the performance that we had against Buffalo last week. So I just want these boys to come out there and just play some ball.
And that's all you can ask. And right now, these they if they follow what the TV coverage is going to look like. 85% of the country is going to be watching this game. So you're now going to have to convince a lot of people around the country that you are a contender, not a pretender. So this is the game of the week. These guys better show up, and like you said, they better give a damn. They show
Right.
some heart in this particular manner, because if not, they'll be exposed. And again, there's not much. There's no pep talk that needs to be said. We know it's at stake.
Right. No bulletin board material needs to be had. This is Baltimore week. The division's on the line, playoffs on the line. Earn your money this week. Go out there and ball out. Right. It's not a huge reason to get into the X and O this week. I just want this team to really show us what we've been begging for all year long. Right. And so I'm gonna bring you on over here. The country, the Steeler Nation, still needs to have their big play bets from Mr. C Batch himself. So I'm gonna ask you to make a 4-leg parlay here, Charlie. Okay.
Okay.
Now, it's going to be a tough one because it's going to be three offensive players from the Steelers on here, and we haven't done anything offensively. So I'm wondering if you're going to go over and under on these. So first, we got over under 197 passing yards, 197 and a half for Aaron Rodgers. What say you?
I'm going over. And the reason
Okay.
why I'm going over, I have trust in Aaron Rodgers. Here's the reason. Here's why. It's the fact that I don't see the Steelers physically able to dominate the Ravens defensive line up front. And with that, the Ravens defense, they're not pressuring and they're not getting after the quarterback like we know that they've done in the past. So I think the Steelers are going to open up this offense, and they better do it. Open up this offense and get these receivers involved into the game early, soften up that defense so as the game goes on, they can now turn around and hand that football off and bleed some clock. So I'm going with Aaron Rodgers over 196, you said?
197 and a half.
197 and a half. I am going over.
Okay. DK receiving yards, 46 and a half. So I'm guessing if you got A Rod over 197 and a half, that you're also going to take DK over 46 and a half. That's
I'm
assuming
saying,
that. Go ahead.
yes, I'm going over because I think they connect on a big one. I
Okay.
think really do think that happens this week.
All right. Next, we have this is the one I want to see what you think for sure is 80 and a half rushing yards by Derrick Henry. Can this defense slow King Henry down and turn Baltimore into a one-dimensional passing team?
I do not think so. I think they're struggling on that run defense. I do think Derrick Henry gets over.
All right. On the other side, can we get our run game going? Can Jalen Warren get over 50 and a half yards rushing?
I think he can, and I think that happens as the game goes on. I think they pass first. This is just my game plan based off me thinking that they're going to pass first, push the ball down the field, soften up that defense. Jalen Warren gets those yards in the second half, and so I do think he gets over 50.
All right. So we got over 197 and a half yards passing by A Rod, over 46 and a half yards receiving by DK, over 80 and a half rushing by Derrick Henry, and over 50 and a half yards rushing by Jalen Warren. I think this is the first week you went over all four times. This
I
might be
do.
the this is gonna be the winning week. I feel it.
Right now, this is the game where there's nothing else to hide, man. You lay it all out, and you got to do anything possible to get out of the stadium with the victory.
You do. And it doesn't look like we have a lot of faith position group by position group. I didn't get to this before, so let's get to it now as we end this show where we think the advantages lie on a team to team basis. We'll run through this real quick. At the quarterback position, I think we pretty much are in line with a lot of our picks right here. Um, except for maybe a couple. But at the quarterback position, I think we both have Lamar Jackson and Baltimore Ravens with the advantage over A Rod and company.
Yeah, we do, and a lot of that comes down to the youth of Lamar Jackson, but also we don't know how healthy he is as he's
Mhm.
coming into this game. So I know I went Lamar Jackson, but I think A Rod is going to step up to the equation, and he's going to go turn around and start doing some things. Listen, man, let's go no huddle. Put the ball in my hands to
That's
allow
what I want
him
to see. I want to see some
to
no huddle.
telling you, allow him to go out there and now get to the line of scrimmage. It's not like he's calling his own plays. they work together with coordinators. You understand the mindset of the game plan, and Aaron will get you in the right play. I think he's going to now walk out of the game victorious and be better than what Lamar Jackson did. But as we enter into the game, I got to give at least the go ahead to Lamar in this piece.
Okay. Running back, uh, Derrick Henry, fourth ranked rushing offense in the NFL, the Baltimore Ravens, where we are the bottom, what I think we're 28th overall. So
Right.
clear advantage here, Baltimore as well. Derrick Henry company at the running back position, right?
Yeah, we're saying the same thing. This
Mhm.
is going to be King Henry all day. They're going to feed it. Remember, we had 299 yards in that playoff game. They're going to continue to feed it with the issues that the Steelers are having on defensive line. Let's see how the Steelers are able to counter that and slow down Derrick Henry.
All right. O line is the one advantage I give us this week, Chuck, and it's because we have done a pretty good job of protecting the quarterback for the times that we've had to drop back. I think outside of a couple of hits that A Rod took, obviously the sack being a big one, there were some clean pockets in there. He got hurt a couple of times. Baltimore, I think Ronald Stanley is struggling, their left tackle, if he's not hurt. I'm not totally sure. I know he was hurt earlier this year and was struggling when he was in the game. So I give us a slight advantage here, not by a lot, obviously, because they are fourth in the league in rushing. And they do Lamar hasn't been hit too much, but he's hurt right now. He's definitely dealing with some bumps and bruises, and I'm not going to attribute that all to their O line, but definitely they have something to do with it. So advantage Steelers O line.
See, I'm going Ravens on this. I think the big bodies are going to lean on that defensive line of the Steelers and are going to be able to push and create those holes for Derrick Henry. I know they've had some issues on the offensive line, but because they're playing at home, I'm giving them the advantage.
All right, wide receiver, tight end. I give them the advantage here because Mark Andrews just got paid this week, and he's looking like old Mark Andrews, right? Zay Flowers hasn't been getting a whole bunch of action this week, but they do between him and Bateman and Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. I think they get a little bit more production than we get out of our crew. Obviously, it's been much. It's been reported heavily how little we use the second wide receiver. Hopefully, Adam Thielen comes in and adds to that. I'm not holding my breath because his offense hasn't shown any life, and it's a lot to ask of a 35-year-old to be that spark. But hopefully he does and does something different. But I think Baltimore has the advantage here.
Yeah, I'm with you on it, Baltimore. And I think mainly it's because of Mark Andrews. This guy here is going to create that mismatch. This is going to be a huge game for Peyton Wilson. We don't know the availability of Patrick Queen, but if he's not able to go, Peyton Wilson has to step up and be able to cover him. If not, then expect to see Jalen Ramsey down in the box playing one on one on Andrews. So that's going to be a key matchup in the game that we're going to see early.
All right, D line. And honestly, I would give us the advantage here on most occasions. But with that performance against Buffalo, I just can't give us the benefit of the doubt. The way Keanu Benton has not been good versus the run. We don't have Derek Harmon this week. Cam can only do so much. Yaya has sparks, but not enough consistent play for us to really hang our hat on the D line. So Baltimore gets the advantage here. Their defense has picked up a lot since the first few weeks, and I think they still have the advantage on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm with you on it. Ravens have the advantage. That memory of that Buffalo game just cannot leave my mind
Hmm.
right now as we are less than a week as we're talking about that game. So I just think that the Steelers have to fix it. We don't know how they're going to fix it, but either way, I just think that defensively and them playing at home and Steelers getting off a split second slow start on that offensive line, you got to give it to the Ravens there.
Yep. Same goes for linebacker. Still, they belong in this conversation when we talk about the front seven and how dismal they looked last week versus the Buffalo Bills. Roquan Smith, I think, is one of the better linebackers in the league, if not the best. Some would argue that he is. And I just think they're getting better play from their interior linebackers as a whole, not to the level they got last year, but I still think they have the slight advantage there.
Yeah, it was hard for me on this one here. Obviously, you talked about Roquan Smith. I based my pick off of if Patrick Queen plays, and I think he's going to be motivated against his former team. We don't know what that hip looks like right now, but All indications right now is 50-50 unquestionable, again, as we speak here today. But again, I think this linebacker group will create a play in this game that will be field flipping, whether turnover, interception for a touchdown, something that this crew is going to make because all they hear is the fact that they are no good. There's no way that they can make a play. I think this motivates them, and I think they make some type of impactful play. And of course, when they do, we'll talk about it on Monday.
Let me ask you this. And this is totally out the blue and totally out of left field. I don't know if anybody has thought about this, but we've been beating the drum on getting Nick Herbig more play, right? Is there any scenario you could see him moving inside if Patrick Queen can't play?
No, that is a possibility. That's a great thought right there. On what type of defense. All I know is that two defensive linemen and four linebacker look that we've been putting on the field that can't work this week.
Right.
That offensive line against the Ravens, as you're going to push them back. It's
You're gonna
hard
yeah.
because you're now giving a clear lane to that guard to now work its way up to the next level to the linebacker. That's an
Mhm.
easy block. I mean, that's a perfect 9-on-7 type of practice that you can get when you don't have a defensive lineman in front of you. So that 5 down look, I don't know or sorry, the two defensive line look, I don't know that that's going to be used a lot, but that 5 man look will possibly be something that the Steelers use a lot more. So I don't know what that looks like, but they definitely have to get Nick Herbig on the field a little bit more because his production right now is actually team MVP type worthy when you
Right.
just look at the number of impactful plays that he's making versus the plays that he's on the field. So these are things that is really has his name up there in conversation for team MVP, not just defensive MVP.
Right. And he's only playing. I would guess he's playing less than 50% of the total snaps this year,
Mhm.
and he's still out there wrecking havoc. So I can see why you went with the linebackers. Hopefully, they get him involved. If Patrick Queen can't play, hopefully that means an uptick in reps for Nick Herbert and for all three of those guys, him, Highsmith, and TJ, to be on the field at the same time to cause some kind of mayhem. And hopefully, we're not coming out in nickel to start the game versus their big personnel like we did against Buffalo. We need some big bodies out there. Hope to see Malik Harrison coming downhill. He's probably our more classic in the box type linebacker, and I think we'll need a lot of him to match up against Derrick Henry. Secondary, Marlon Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton, who I think Kyle Hamilton is probably the best safety in the league, if not top two or three. Marlon Humphrey seems to be getting some of his old form back. Um, I don't know if Duggar's going to be healthy. We assume Jalen's going to be out there. He just had a rest day for a vet. JPJ is a little dinged up, and we're not totally sure about the other corner position. Is it going to be Pierre? Is it going to be Eccles? Now that Slay is out the building, whose spot is that? Is it a rotating door? Is it a constant weekly competition, or has somebody stepped up and claimed that spot? I guess we'll see on Sunday. But until then, Baltimore knows who their secondary is, and they have some legit Pro Bowl players at those positions. So advantage Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm giving Baltimore the advantage because the Steelers secondary is banged up. And right now, what level are they going to be comfortable playing with? You talk about Duggar, he's listed on the injury report with a hand. JPJ, it looks like potentially something going on with his arm. So, again, we don't, and obviously Jalen Ramsey is a resting vet, so we don't know if that's truly resting or he's nursing an injury as well. So I would expect to see Sante Samuels Jr. in here to now create and be part of it because he
Ah,
was
motivated.
elevated
Yep.
to the active roster. So all I know is whoever that cornerback is going to be, expect that heavy personnel that Buffalo ran and that we essentially called it 22 double when we were playing.
Mm-hmm.
Now expect them to use that formation because that play now spills out to the corner and something at the corner, Joey Porter Jr., he struggled a little bit in this game because that play bounced out to him quite a few times and they've been able to get some of those runs. If you just look at the first play of the game, that 19-20 yard run that they had, they bounced it out to Joey. He got a little bit eye nosy by looking in and not reading his keys and seeing the ball carrier bounce out. So they have to correct that particular play because they're going to see it early in this game. And if they correct it, we won't see it much by Baltimore. But if they did not adjust to it, we're going to see more of that particular play. So these corners are going to have to now step up because now, like Mike Tomlin says, he expects little guys to hit big.
Mm-hmm.
And these little guys now have to hit these big targets. And now you have Derrick Henry. So welcome to this rivalry.
Welcome. Hey. They're not gonna take it easy on you. So we gotta correct that quick, fast, in a hurry. That inside zone cutback, and hopefully anybody who has contain, they're gonna run that thing over and over again, just like Buffalo, and try to dominate the interior of that defensive line and get on the edges and make our corners tackle. So uh, we got the work cut out for them. Got the best in the game coming at them. So special teams. Usually I would give us this advantage with Boswell, with Benny Sco, who I think is going to be a special teams Pro Bowler this year. Now that we've missed Miles Killebrew to a ending injury a few weeks back. I think Ben has stepped up and done a good job, but too many penalties still in our return game that prevents us from taking advantage of field goal or field position in general. And so I think Baltimore has the advantage here, unfortunately, but it's something I think we could flip rather easily. Especially these games are usually Chris Boswell made. He's won games on his foot alone in this series.
Yeah, he has, and I love Danny Smith in this rivalry. This is a guy who's going to make those adjustments and create something that's going to be impactful in this particular game. Yes, you talked about Chris Boswell. We know what he'd bring in, and obviously he's clutch to me. And always, this guy's phenomenal. So no questions there. The person who I think is going to be the difference maker in this is going to be Corliss Waitman. This guy had a couple bad games punting, but I think he responds, and when he responds, he's going to get a big punt or two that's going to make that adjustment. And those are the hitting yards that comes in because that's, you take away or force the Ravens to now make an additional first down. And that starts with great punting, even though we know we don't want to punt offensively. But when it does happen, he has to change that. And I think Waitman is a difference maker in this game.
All right, coaching. This is a tough one because I don't think any coaches have played more against one another than John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin. I think their record is pretty close to even, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know the exact numbers, but last time I saw it, it was like one win in Tomlin's favor over John Harbaugh. But coming into this game, we got one coach who's leading a team that's won 5 out of 7. We got one coach coming into this game that's led his team that has lost 5 out of 7. And Baltimore is that team that's won 5 out of 7. So with everything pretty much being practically equal between these two Super Bowl champions, two future Hall of Famers, how the momentum that they're coming into this game with leads me to give John Harbaugh the slight advantage in coaching. They're both going to have their guys ready to play. They both know what's at stake right here. They both know this rivalry better than anyone. They created this rivalry essentially because Baltimore wasn't really a franchise when Coach Cowher, like they were still relatively new during Coach Cowher's tenure. And so they've made this rivalries who some say the best in football, probably up until this year. It had been the last 10 or so years. And so everything's equal, but I got to give Harbaugh the credit just because he's coming here with a little bit more momentum.
Yeah, I can agree. There's not a lot of disagreement there. The one thing I will push back on, this is right now, will be a test to Mike Tomlin's leadership. You
Mhm.
talk about always, hey, block out the noise, take the field, don't worry about what the outside chatter looks like. That's what you sell to the team. Now, because the heat is on you at this particular point, how are you going to step up and now go out there and show outside noise didn't bother me? This is a game to prove it. I think he has his guys ready, and he's going to get these guys ready to play. And it reminds me of that 2012 season when I was starting. Not many people outside of Steelers Nation gave us a chance to win, but there was only a few. And it starts with the belief in that locker room. I think this is a turnaround game for Mike Tomlin, and he's now going to now prove that he can lead the team, and these guys are going to respond. And I think because of that, I'm giving the coaching advantage to Mike Tomlin.
He's never had to face the Boo Birds quite like he's had to this week. I think he is built for these type of challenges. He's responded his entire career. So I do tend to agree with you on that. So I'm hoping that everything you're saying comes to fruition and that we get the type of performance out of these guys that we've been waiting for so long. Because you know what? Steeler Nation is fed up this week, and I think they've reached a fever pitch. And anything less than a really good, solid performance, a good Steelers like performance, uh, wouldn't be acceptable. We got to go out there and play some Steelers football, get that mystique back that we used to have. And I think everything else will be better come Victory Monday. Am I right, CB?
I agree. This is a game that ultimately throw the records out the door. This is a true rivalry, man. And it's going to be an exciting game to watch, and we're going to see as we recap this thing on Monday.
All right. Before we get out of here, let the people know what the best of Batch Foundation is doing for these holidays.
Yes, we are excited. We are in the middle of our holiday drive as we adopt over 400 families, which is over 1,800 kids. So during this time, we collect to unwrap toys, then we wrap them and actually deliver them. So tomorrow we will be out collecting toys at Walmart out there in Cranberry as we are partnering with KDK, Pittsburgh Today Live, Asley's, everybody who is supporting. We will be there from 9 o'clock to 12 p.m. and we will be collecting unwrapped toys. So please join us tomorrow to be a part of it. And if you can't and you are outside the region and want to be a part of our toy drive, you can go to batchfoundation.org. You'll be able to see all of the drop off locations around the city of Pittsburgh and also click and ship options for you to now be able to select the toys and they will ship directly to our foundation office. So we are truly grateful and humble for everybody who believes in what we are doing at Best of the Batch Foundation. So please, we thank you, but also please go to the website, check us out, see what we do, and hopefully you'll be able to participate. So again, that is batchfoundation.org.
Awesome work, Santa Chuck. Hey,
Hey,
you're always doing
appreciate it.
awesome things, brother. All right. That is it for our show today. Chuck, happy birthday, brother.
Man,
You
right back.
want,
Appreciate you and right back at you, brother.
you
Happy
want to be
birthday
like,
to you.
happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. You know that version, right? You gotta sing them all. But we're
Yeah,
gonna get out of
absolutely.
here. We're gonna see you on Monday. Here we go.
Here we go.